All right, let's play detective for a minute. We've got a case on our hands, a real financial mystery. The question is, what actually happens on the very first day a company opens its doors? And our only clue is this one single document.
So here it is. Now, I know what you're thinking. It just looks like a spreadsheet, right? But for us detectives, this is way more interesting. Think of it like a page ripped right out of a company's financial diary. It's got a record of every single thing that happened on one specific day. And believe me, it's the key to cracking this whole case wide open. And that really brings us to the main question, doesn't it? What story is this single page telling us about April 1st, 2020? Every number, every little word on here, it's all a piece of the puzzle. So let's get to it and start putting it all together.
Okay, first things first. If we're going to crack this case, we have to understand our evidence. This thing is called a daybook. So, what exactly is a daybook?
But put simply, a daybook is just a daily record of every single financial transaction, all listed in the order they happened. I absolutely love this analogy for it. Think of it as a ship's log for money. It tracks the entire journey of every single rupee, as it comes in and as it goes out.
Okay, so to read this logbook, we've got to understand its language. The date, super simple. That's just when it happened. Particulars gives us a quick description of what's going on. Now, debit and credit, this just shows you the flow of the money. A simple way to think about it is debit is money out of an account and credit is money in. And finally, Veach type, that's short for voucher type. That just tells us what kind of transaction it was. All right, now we can read the map. The real investigation can begin.
All right, our first job as financial detectives is a classic one. We've got to follow the money. So where did all the cash come from on day one? Let's track every single rupee that came into this business.
And right away, one number it practically leaps off the page at you, 3 lakh rupees. This is by far the biggest financial event of the whole day. This is the starting capital, right? The lifeblood that's going to get this entire operation up and running. But the big question is, where did it come from? Well, our little diary page tells us exactly who. A name, Arpit Kumar. Now, this is almost certainly the founder or maybe a key investor. And what's really important to get here is that this money isn't the loan, and it's not revenue from a sale. Nope. This is that initial seed capital, the money that kicks everything off.
But wait a second, that wasn't the only cash that came in. Looking at our document, we can see another injection of money, 25,000 rupees. And trust me, this one tells a totally different and maybe even a more impressive story.
So here's why that's so cool. The entry is labeled Advanced Consulting Revenue. Think about what that means. On its very first day, this company wasn't just funded, it already had a paying client. They were actually earning money before they'd even finished setting everything up. I mean, wow, that is an absolutely incredible start.
Okay, so the company kicked off day one with a nice, healthy chunk of cash. But, money doesn't just sit in a bank account, right? So the next phase of our investigation is to figure out exactly where that money went. Let's trace the cash outflow.
And this chart gives us a fantastic at-a-glance look at their priorities. Just look at it. The biggest piece of the pie went to new assets. And right behind that are security deposits, which, is probably for an office space. The rest is just a small withdrawal by the owner and some minor office costs. Honestly, this is like the classic playbook for a brand new company getting set up.
So let's dig into the actual details, right? They spent $25,000 on a computer and another $6,000 on a cell phone. I mean, that's the essential toolkit for any modern consulting business. They got themselves a physical spot with that security deposit for an office. And even those little things like the owner's withdrawal and the office maintenance, they're all part of the story. It looks like nothing was wasted here. Every single expense seems like a very deliberate step towards building this company.
Okay, now if we look closely at our daybook, there are a few entries that aren't just simple money in or money out. Now, these can be kind of confusing at first, but they're really important to understand. So let's bust some of this financial jargon. All right, let's break these two down. First, a contra entry. We actually see one of these in our document. This isn't money leaving the company at all. It's just moving it from one of the company's pockets to another. Think of it like taking cash out of the company bank account and putting it into the cash drawer. Then you have a journal entry. This is for stuff that doesn't involve cash right now, like, say, buying office supplies on credit. It's really just a record, not a cash transaction. And yeah, understanding this difference is totally key so we don't misread the clues.
Okay, so let's recap. We figured out what our evidence is, we've followed the money coming in, and we've traced where it went out.
We even decoded the tricky jargon. I think it's time to piece this all together and deliver our final verdict on the financial story of April 1st.
And here it is, the whole day in a nutshell. We can call it the daily scorecard. The business brought in a grand total of 3,25,000 rupees, and it spent a total of 67,250 rupees. It's that simple, clear, powerful. That is the bottom line of their very first day in business.
So when you put all those pieces of the puzzle together, the numbers tell a really clear story, a great narrative. On April 1st, 2020, this company didn't just exist on paper, it truly came to life. It got its funding, it bought the tools it needed to actually do the work, it set up a physical presence, and what I still think is the most impressive part, it made its very first sale.
And to think, that whole story came from just one single page of their financial diary. It was a busy day, a productive day, and, you've got to say, a pretty successful first day. Which, of course, leaves us with one final lingering thought. If all of that happened on day one, what in the world do you think happened on day two?